Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today, the topic is communication management. In the project life cycle, if you look at the project managers and leaders, they spend most of the time in the communication. That's why we are considering this communication management as a lifeline of the project. I will walk through you how the effective communication management helps to be successful in the project. Same time, some of the data I will share the ineffective communication, how it affect the projects during the life cycle. The agenda, first I'll introduce about the PMI, and then what is the communication management, and how it has covered in the PM Book of Knowledge, that is Project Management Book of Knowledge published by the PMI, and essential role of communications. Following that, what is the new rule the project managers and leaders, project owners need to be followed in their communication, and following that, what are the best practices in project life cycle we can follow. Then what is the way forward for the people who are attending this session. End of this presentation, so we will have a Q&A. The PMI is a global organization, and if you look at it, is started for the non-profit purpose, and it has more than 425,000 members in 187 countries. In India, we got 20,000 members. Worldwide, it got the 260 chapters. In India, we have 8 chapters. It starts from Bangalore, Chennai, Mumbai, Pune, Trivandrum, West Bengal, and North India. So these are the major 8 chapters helping the industry and institutes to practice on the project management. And apart from that, the PMI has 38 virtual communities of practice. So if you visit www.pmi.org, and you can see this communities of practice. So through that, the specialized areas like learning and development, the community practice for leadership, the community practice for automation, like that, the specialized practices are there, and through that the PMI members can get more benefit about how they can learn so many new things happening in the project management area. And this PMI started in 1969, and the basic motto of this is advancing the project management profession. So it has the 13 global standards, including, it's not only the project management, including program and portfolio management. The premier standard of this project management body of knowledge, the PMBOK guide, with over 3 million copies in circulation. So most of the project managers refer this one as a Bible for PM. It got many credentials. These globally recognized credentials, many people got it, and if you look at the worldwide, 565,000 credential holders are available, and in India 30,000 credential holders. It's not only the PMP, they have different credentials like CAPM, it's Certified Associate Project Management, and then PGMP, Program Management Professional, then PMI RMP. This is especially for the risk management professionals. And the 5th one is the PMI SP. This is the scheduled professional. And the 6th one, PMI ACP. This is the one now more demanded one, because the Agile certification practitioner certification is giving the voice knowledge about under the Agile umbrella, what are the different methodologies and different practices and the tool techniques are available to implement in the project management life cycle. If you look at the people who are very good in managing the time and who are good in scheduling the projects, so they can go for this PMI schedule professional, and projects which have more uncertainty, and those projects run by any project managers or project leaders, so they can go for the PMI RMP, because this risk management professional certificate gives more insight how to proactively handle the risk, and it gives the best practices which followed across the industries, so that can be implemented based on the requirement of the organizations. The PGMP is most of the people thinking that it's whoever managing multiple projects, they are the program managers, they want to do the PGMP. It's not like that. The PGMP has the oversees multiple projects, but same time it has the common agenda across the projects, and it also helps to meet the strategic and business objective of the organizations. CAPM is more likely, people will say it's the initial, the first step for getting into project management. Even the college students can do this CAPM certification. It helps them to understand what is project management, and it also helps them to understand the gap between the institute versus institute, institute versus industry. They can, by getting this credential, when they come to the industry, the understanding about the real-time scenarios, it will be very quick learn for them. The PMP is the major one. Many people got these credentials, so it helps them to have better management or better control their projects, and also many people got benefit through the PMP in their professional life, and many people even in their social life, they say they can implement this PMP, PMI best practices through after their PMP certification. So these are the credentials are available with PMI, and apart from that, still they are working on other credentials. Even there is a OPM3 is their organizational project management maturity model. So like that, they are keep investing time and effort researching about the project management, and the PMI is going to make more standard in the project management area. Here I have putting few pictures, so maybe through this what we are able to understand, it's very quick that we don't need to verbally or we don't need to explicitly put any written communication. So these symbols and signs talks a lot of communication. So people can able to understand by seeing this standard of way to communicate certain things, and like this we need to have some standard in our communication, because the standard what we are expecting in the project life cycle, it's not only going to help yourself, because you are going to interact with multicultural people, and some of the project demands worldwide, you have to connect with the different language people. So the communication always needs some standard, and if you can able to build that standard within your organization or within your project life cycle, so that can be helps you to achieve many things in your life, because the project communication management is not only focusing on getting things done, because people say that focusing on the time, scope, cost, these are the three constraints, major constraints. Nowadays the mandate like risk and quality also included. But on top of that, the communication is playing very vital role for the project success. So what is this project communication management covers during the project life cycle is here we have given a broader overview. This has been taken from the the PM Book of Knowledge. If you look at the first thing is there should be a plan available for the communication management. And the second thing is manage the communication. And third one is control the communications. This is the typical way the PMI follows: ITTO, inputs, tools and techniques, and outputs. So if we go through all these areas, and the people will get easily understand why that standard is required for project communication management. Today, most of the organizations follow their own style and which works better for them, or whichever methodologies they followed so far, or whichever created by their seniors or their founders, and they following it. But when you have the standard, it will be easy to reach, or it will be easy to communicate with other region peoples, as well as other country peoples, as well as with other language people also. So this each and every inputs, what we are talking is very detailed passion explained in the PM Book of Knowledge. So people who have the access to that one, so they can go through it. For considering the time, so maybe it takes one day to explain everything here. We are trying to cover as much possible through this presentation, and rest of the things maybe when you have the access to the PM Book of Knowledge, so you can read it and you can understand. What is the essential role of the communications? Actually, when this topic came, the recent time, all the conferences which PMI host, people talking about how this communication is very essential. There was a study done by the PMI across the globe, and they have taken the inputs from all the practitioners, members, the industry folks, and see how this communication is playing the very important role in the project life cycle. Communication, it's the core competency, because the PMI defined two set of competencies. One is the performance competencies, and second one is the personal competencies. Under performance competencies only, we have these knowledge areas like integration management, time management, scope management, cost management, quality. Like this, we have a 10 management knowledge areas are there. The personal competency side, the first thing is the communication and the leadership. Like this, we have 6 personal competencies are there. In that, communication is a core competency, because it connects every member of the project team to achieve a common set of goals and strategies what the organization or the project demands. Through this communication only, all the components are shared with the project team members, and it happens in all the levels. It happens in the upward, the peer level, and the downward. Here, if you look at the graph, the picture, what we are seeing is actually the amount of the risk for every US dollar 1 billion spent on the project. In that, $135 million are at risk. In every project which has the value of 1 billion, in that 135 million is in the risk. In that 135, there are 56% risk is due to the ineffective communication. So out of 135, 56% is totally 75 million. The amount which involved in this risk, if you look at it's because of the ineffective communication. Maybe now you can understand how much this communication is important for the project managers and the project team members and the project owners and the project leaders. Why this communication is very critical? Because the poor communication contributes to project failure. Many times people will say only the 36% of the projects are getting successful, remaining 65% because of either budget overrun or time overrun. But most of the cases, if you look at this poor communication, it's a hidden one creating the project failure. If you look at the second point, the communication as an integral and active component of their strategic planning and execution process. When the project gets initiated, during that time itself, the communication starts playing the vital role. If the strategics what defined for the project not communicated to the members, if they don't understand the value of the project, then it will be leads to the failure only. And during the planning time, it has to be very detailed manner discussed and see how effectively this plan can be executed. And most of the time there is a gap between the strategic plan and the execution, because most of the organizations, the top management do the planning and the real executors are from the middle side. So if there is a gap between this two group, and there's a lot of opportunity for the project getting failure. If you look at the 55% of the people agree that effective communication to all stakeholders is the most critical success factor in the project management. This percentage and the numbers what we are talking is as part of that pulse of the profession, the PMI done the study. Here they have very clearly explained that how that 75 million has done. We are through ineffective communication, we are losing the US dollar 75 million. As I mentioned earlier, the percentage of projects not meeting goals is 37.7%. In that, 55.7% of through the ineffective communications. And similarly, if you look at the percentage of projects that failure due to ineffective contributing factor is 21%, and if you multiply that one with the budget lost. So usually the time, scope, budget, these are the three major constraints. In that the time and scope and the budget, the percentage if you look at, we are risking more and more through the ineffective communication only. The real risk of ineffective communication is not all projects succeed. As we mentioned, the highly effective communicators and minimally effective communicators, there's a difference you can see here. The organizations which communicate more effectively have more successful projects, and the high effective communicators, they meet 80% of their original goals, and always they did 71% on time and 76% within budget. If you look at the numbers which are in gray, it's our minimally effective communicators. So compared to the highly effective communicators, you can see the huge difference there. Due to ineffective communication, the successful projects, like 1 out of 5 projects are unsuccessful due to the ineffective communication. The reason I'm showing all this one, it's not that the PMI is insisting about the communication management is very important. The worldwide, the people who are practicing the project management, they feel that the importance of the communication management need to be spread across to the world. So nowadays, most of the PMI conferences and the seminars, they give more importance to that. So now, what is that communication gap we have? Why this ineffective communication happens in our organization? So the gap is surrounding the business benefits. Most of the time, when the project starts, the end user from the business, they define that this is my requirement. The person who understands that requirement, and they will put it in the document, and they will publish for the vendor to come and do that projects. If it is a in-house, it will be very easy to interact and communicate what the real expectation of the end user of the business. But most of the time the organizations, they expect the vendors to come and do that projects. During that time, they have to prepare the documents, and they have to explain each and everything to the people who are going to execute. If you look at here, the numbers, the percentage, how people understanding about the objectives, there's a huge difference between the practitioners and the executive sponsors and the business owners. Because when they define the objectives, the way how 100% understood by the business owners and how it is translated or interpreted by the executive sponsors is less than 100%. Maybe it will come to 90. When it passes it to the actual practitioner who is going to execute, so it will be the 80% only. That's where always we can have the problem when the deliverables go to the actual business users. They may say that it's not meeting to the requirement. So if you look at the numbers here, the objectives, the budget, schedule, scope, and the outcomes, benefit strategy, everywhere you can see the difference. Very few, maybe in the schedule time, because of the keep they are monitoring it, you can see the percentage is very less, 1 to 2% only difference is there. But other areas, it's more or less huge difference between the practitioners and the business owners. So we need to bridge that gap. How to do that? So we will cover in the later slides. Most of the time, nowadays we are seeing that the project owner or the project sponsors, they are from the different regions, and who are going to execute or who are managing the projects in the ground level are different people. So there are a lot of language challenges between these people, and many projects nowadays, the worldwide, they are doing it. During that time, a lot of different cultural people also getting involved, and there are people not able to communicate in a common language. Even though some people use the translators, there are some pitfalls still we can see because of the poor language. If you look at the people who communicate frequently and against to communicate infrequently, there's a huge difference. Many people, they prepare the document and they select the vendor and they give the project to them. After that, there will not be much communication between these two of the people. So during that time, if you look at because of the language barrier, they hesitate to communicate, or they not having the frequent meetings, because nowadays even the translators are charging heavily. That is the reason they avoid to have the frequent meetings. But that leads to a lot of problems during the project life cycle. An average 4 out of 5 projects, and which are communicated with sufficient clarity and detail, also the communicated in the language of the audience, meet their original business goals, also the intent, compared to just half of the projects when communications are not sufficiently clear and detailed. So there is a huge difference between the frequent communicator and the infrequent communicator. If you look at the study data, it's very clearly saying that the non-technical language, because the technical, if you want to communicate something, that end person also uses the same technology term, so it's easy for them to understand. But you want to communicate something in the non-technical language, that's where the huge difference happens. Also, the clarity and detail. Most of the time, before somebody ends something, so they will assume it. Also, when they read something, the way they interpret in their mind, it has to be aligned with the owner or the source who's giving the project. If not, there will be a mis assumption happens, and because of that, the deliverables or whatever the service you are going to provide through that project is not going to meet the intent of the project. So how to improve this communication to maximize the success and to minimize the risk? If you look at the numbers, what we have seen is for 1 million, 1 billion, we are almost 75 million we are risking because of the ineffective communication. This appropriate clarity, detail, and that's where people misses. As I mentioned, because of the assumptions. Most of the time, it's at least they cover these assumptions in their RFP, and they'll under the assumptions header section, so they do that. But most of the time, the perception, what they have about certain things, it's totally different from the person who is providing the project. So that's where that clarity need to be happen. And also here the 4 parameters we are seeing, that one is the timely manner it has to be communicated, and the appropriate settings of the media, because some people are very comfortable picking up the phone and talking, and some people are comfortable chatting through the instant messengers, and some people want to communicate through the emails. So the media, we have to choose it. The media also playing the vital role in the communication. And if you look at the high performers who are mostly high effective communicators, because when you are able to communicate very well what you have done or what you are going to do and what you have understood, so through that you will get more clarity, and you can plan very well and you can execute very well. Finally, you can close the project with very success rate. So compared to the minimal effective communicators, they are only 7%, and if you look at the highly effective communicators, so 38% they are contributing for project success. Here, how we can define it? Which are the high performing organizations, which are the more low performing organizations? The organizations which are having very standard way of communicating their plans and the effective way of getting responses from the people, those organizations are very high performing organizations. And now if you look at how they are distinguished themselves from other people, they specifically with regard to the gap and the trouble spots noted what earlier, they will address it one by one. Most of the time during the strategic planning meet, the people from the top management, they do the discussion, everything, and the summary only will come to the people. If the organization able to communicate the day-to-day activities, how they are doing it, what they have discussed, and when they are going to implement, all those, if they make it very clear that all 5 W's and 1 H, so it will be more motivational to the people who associate with that organizations, because people always get the messages or the communications from the media or from the other industry peers. They get always the bad news about the organization. But when we are communicating during the planning time itself, what we are going to do that, so that gives more clarity for the associates who are with the organizations. And the second one is what is uh, the objectives of the project and what is the business benefit we are going to attain through that project. It's not only the project we are talking about which we want to give it to the outside the organization. Some of the strategic initiatives which organization want to run as a project within their organization also need to be followed this one, because communicating this to all the employees or associates, they will have the better understanding about what they supposed to do or what value add they can do it to this uh, project, and also how they can help to attain those business objectives. That is the second thing the most of the high performing organizations are doing. Additionally, uh, the high performing organizations are delivering the projects in a timely manner, and while they are doing it, each and every communications, if something need to be happened on day-to-day basis or weekly basis or bi-monthly or monthly, quarterly, so that timely manner they are sharing those informations and what they are delivering to the customer and what the customer is giving the feedback. So everything is happening in that timely manner. This high performing organizations use formal communication plans more frequently and more effectively compared to the low performing organizations. That's where the PMI insists that planning communication management is a very important. Uh, the second one is the managing the communication, because if you don't have the clear communication plan uh, during your project life cycle, you may do a lot of ad hoc things apart from your day-to-day things. So nothing can be communicated to the all the stakeholders of the project. So when you have the clear plan, even sometimes you have to have the prepare plan B also. It's not always you have to depend on the one plan. So even people nowadays preparing plan A, plan B, plan C also. So we should have some contingency plan also, because we are in more uncertainty world. Many things are happening uh, in through the uncertainty times. We have to be well prepared for communicating things very clearly to all the stakeholders. So that's where this plan is very much important. And if you look at mm, the data, the low performing counterparts, compared to low performing counterparts, the high performing organizations are more than 3 times effective in their communication. So these are the 5 things make the organizations to become a high performing organizations. I give you 2 minutes to go through this, all the mm, pictures what here. The points what we have discussed in the earlier slide, they have given the numbers here. What is the difference between the high performers and low performers in the percentage, they have explained very well here. If you look at the 5 parameters, what they are more majorly talking is identifying the project requirements and project management communications. And the third one, balancing project scope, quality, schedule, budget, resources and risk. And the fourth one, managing project stakeholders. The fifth one is sourcing an effective project team. The managing project stakeholders, in last 2 years it is getting more importance, Earlier, the PMI had the PMBOK version 4. In that, we had only 9 knowledge management area. So after hearing from the industry across the globe, so different industries given the inputs, and the many researchers found that the stakeholder management is getting more and more important. Now, in the PMBOK version 5, they came up with separate knowledge area for stakeholder management. From the communication management, they have taken few processes, and they have added many things under the stakeholder management. Uh, Now they are doing it, focusing it as a separate knowledge area. The balancing project scope, quality, schedule. If you look at the high performers, they communicate very quickly, and whenever they see if any imbalance in this one, so immediately they will alert entire project team as well as all the stakeholders, and immediately they will bring it balance in these areas. Unless you don't have any standard way of communicating with your project team or your stakeholders, it will be very difficult to do this kind of proactive things, because uh, the plan what you have put it, you have to manage it during your execution or uh, mm, planning time. So that's why again and again this communication playing the vital role. Identifying the project requirements, if you look at people, most of the time they uh, undergo that, okay, this is the way we are doing so far. Uh, Now this person also asking the same thing. That assumptions and perceptions are broken by the high performing organizations, because they always get into the discussion and understand very clearly what is the customer want or what is that customer need, because there's a huge difference between the want and need. uh, because the need can be met only through the deliverables, which creates the value to the customer. But the want of the customer can be fulfilled by the project team through the value add services also. So we should not leave our focus what exactly the customer need. So when we understand that very clearly, the project requirements will be very clear to the team. For that, we need to have a different approach to understand the project requirements from the customer. I will cover this one during the project life cycle explanation. So how this effective stakeholder communications lead to more effective projects? The communications are impacted when different stakeholder groups use different jargon and language. Many multicultural or many multi-regional projects facing this problem. They always say that even we have the documented everything, if the person is not able to read those documents, what is the use of that? Maybe the ground level people who are doing it, they may not be able to go through all the documents, but the organization has a different set of people to execute the projects. So if the project executing team or the lead or project manager, if they are well versed with the multilingual, they may be successful in their project. But many times the influence of the localites, they expect even the person who is uh, talking in their own language, and the person what translates, they feel more comfortable with that. even sometimes people feel that the people knows multilingual, they are trying to do, they'll try to gold plate certain things. That is the reason they are using the local language, the regional language. But the case is not like that. People are having the mindset and people have the comfort with the people who they interact very frequently. So we need to identify the person who can influence them, the person who can communicate very clearly the objective of the project and also what is the business objective behind that project. This communication issue is also lead to the different expectation for a project, and most of the time it's end up impacting the bottom line also. You may need to get more translator, or you may need to get the people who are comfortable to communicate among themselves, or you may have to bunch of people who talk the common language. So when we are going for these kind of options, so our operational cost increase high. So that will really impact your bottom line of the project. To overcome that, the technical language, the people who uses in the ground level, they need to understand what is the expectation from them. Most of the time, this technical language, the specifications and the technical specifications and requirements only given to them. They don't understand why they are doing this job, how it's going to create value to the customer, how it is going to add value to the customer, because they don't have any clue about the objectives of the business. So the technical language plays important role for delivering things, but same time, if you want to work as a team, apart from technical language, there should be a communication happens through the some set of language which helps them to understand the strategy behind this project, the objectives of the business behind this project. Who can do this one? Mostly the middle management executives. They can bridge that gap, because these guys most of the time talk about the operational language, and they have to play the real bridge role. They can understand what the strategy in the top level having it, and they can make it that one as a goal for them, and at that goal, to attain those goals, so they can make it action items, and those action items to be communicated to the people who are at the ground level, who can always talk in the technical language. So they have to convert this strategy to goals to actions in the technical language. So then only the ground level people will understand how they are adding or creating value to the customer. And the next level is the top senior management. They always talk the business language, and it's in their peer level, it's very easy to understand. But when it comes to the execution side, they have to very clearly align their corporate strategy with the project strategy. So they have to make sure whether this operational or that middle management people who are executing the project having clear understanding about the corporate strategy. Then only they can convert those corporate strategy as a project strategy. So the technical language, it's not only limited to the ground level people, even for the middle level, they have to convert these action items in the technical language, and they have to communicate. So similarly, operational language not only limited to the middle management. So the top management has a role defining what are the things in the operational way they have to get things done. They have to define it and also make sure the corporate strategy is understood by the executors. The business language also need to be understood by the middle management, because many times the top management has the very few numbers, the middle management has the maximum number of people, so they can easily uh, get the inputs from the top management, and they can interpret or they can translate the way how they want to execute. In general, the project owners need to speak the language of the C-suite, because the project owner is having the broad understanding about the end-to-end of the project, and from corporate strategy to the project strategy, they can explain to the different group of people. Also, they can get into the ground level and they can able to explain to the real-time executors in the technical language also. But they have to keep always in their mind is they need to talk about what is that C-suite language, what is the C-suite folks use it. End of the day, if there is no return to the investment, and any project, if you do it over the budget or over the time, it is not going to help the objective of the business. So far we have seen what is that the study is talking, and what is that the reality happening it. Very few organizations learn from this and they have changed it. We have seen very few numbers of the high performing organizations. How every project manager or project leader can be very effective communicator, how they can make it many projects to be successful, through that how they can make it their organizations as a high performing organization. So the next part of the presentation will cover those areas. There is a new rule coming for the feedback. In general, we always do the feedback from the top to bottom only. We never get the feedback from bottom. So that is the most of the organization follows it. Very few organizations only having the flat structure. Most of the organizations having the hierarchical structure. Because of that, always they give the feedback from top to bottom only. They never get any feedbacks from the bottom. That is the new rule to be followed to become a high performing organization and make many projects to success. The feedback is not a job or it's an action. It's a art, because giving and receiving feedback is the communication between two minds. Even if you very precisely see, it is between two ego persons. The communication is always happens between two, and but the feedback is happening between two egoistic minds. So it has the art of doing it. How we can do this one? We have to involve the people, and we have to explain them what is that we are trying to communicate. And if you look at the traditional way of communicating or giving the feedback, during the appraisal time only these people get more feedbacks. Apart from that, during the project life cycle, it's very when they are not meeting the timelines, when they are not meeting the quality deliverables, only they are getting the feedback. Instead of that, while you are planning itself, if you involve the people, involve the stakeholders, involve the team members of the project, that gives them to understand what is that we are going to do, and if they want to give some feedback, they can open it up during the planning time itself. And this effective communication of giving the feedback also requires understanding how the project leaders' power and influence impacts the dialogue. Because most of the time, emotionally, when the people give the feedback, so it touches the other person ego and they immediately react. So instead of responding to the problem or responding to the feedback, so they immediately react. So keeping those things in their mind, we have to be very emotionally balanced when we give the feedback. So similarly, when we ask the feedback, sometimes people from the ground level, they will directly hit on your face, eh, bringing out some of the mistakes you are doing it. The way how you are going to receive it and going to understand that is very, very critical. You have to be very emotionally balanced and see is there any hidden agenda in that one. If not, try to understand through that feedback what he or she is trying to communicate to you. So for that, listening is very much required. Finally, the project leaders must be able to determine the right way to communicate given the culture and personality involved. Because most of the time we follow the same thing what we are comfortable to do with this set of people. Sometimes it backfires, that style what you are following with a set of peoples. So you need to have a different style. Also you have to see with whom you are interacting and what kind of personality he is or she is. Also in the culture also plays a vital role here. Some of the cultures, even people will say certain things not allowed in their culture, but if as a project leader or project manager, if you demonstrate that, it may backfire to you. So you must be aware about the culture where you are talking or where you are communicating. So that plays very important role in the feedback. And the next one is negotiating, because now the negotiation is a fact of our life. Everybody start negotiating. It's not only in the professional life. Many areas of our life, day and day, we are having the negotiation. So how in the project life cycle you can negotiate with confidence through effective communication is very much important. The most of the time the project managers have the very little or formal authority over the stakeholders, since they are playing a middle level role, so they may not be able to control some of the top management people. Some of the time the project manager or project leader not have the control to negotiate with the customer also. How you can break that one? Always you have to understand what is from the other person's shoes, like what is that person expecting from you. So for that you have to be open, be open mind to understand what is that other person is expecting from you. Many times people take it, if anybody start negotiating it, they feel that this guy is arguing or this person is more stubborn, this person is very rigid. So they have that kind of mindset, and this communication gets into different direction. So when you have the less authority, you have to influence who can get things done. So for that, your negotiation should happen with who's the person can get things done from the customer or from the other stakeholders. So you have to influence that person. There are different ways of nowadays people are negotiating. Earlier people, they just get into the meeting and they, over the meeting, they will discuss and negotiate things and close the deals and come out from that room. But nowadays, even through the chat, even through the SMS, people are start negotiating certain things. So there are diverse interest people involved in this kind of communication. So we need to be aware of who are the people, as well as uh, how or which medium we are using to communicate to them. Some of the negotiations, if you do it, it may be in the written way. If you do that, it is getting documented. That will be backfire when you are actually delivering the projects. So make better use of your formal or informal way of communicating, and make sure that you are not having any hidden agenda, and make sure that you are not affecting the opponent person ego. Since the projects are nowadays getting executed from different parts of the world, there are a lot of virtual teams are created to deliver those projects as a team, and there are multi-generational workplace. If you look at there is a X and Y generations are there. Most of the time, the communication conflicts happening between this X and Y. The Y generation is more aggressive. They want to do something new always, but same time the X generation says that know the basic and fundamentals, then on top of that try to do the new things. So to bridge that gap, sometimes some of the cusp people required, so that these people able to understand the both side, and they are doing it. But project managers and project leaders, when they have this kind of different generational people in their team, they have to play the balanced role. They have to understand the both sides best and put it together and communicate that one very clearly to all the stakeholders, all the team members, so that the negotiation will be very less between those two generations. Also, the culture and cultural diversities play an important part in communicating and negotiating effectively. Uh, some of the times people have the intention to know that whether this person from their own region, or if that person able to communicate the language which the opponent person know. So when they do that, many people have that comfort that okay, so we have our person that side, so it will be easy to communicate certain things, and some of the deals are getting closed very quickly by having this one. The person who understand the culture of the provider, also the culture of the people who are going to execute the project. We have seen the two things. One is that feedback, and the second thing is the negotiation. And third one is writing the emails. Most of the time we are writing the emails which are filling the other individuals' mailbox, but it is not solving the purpose most of the time. And nowadays it's kind of people are using the email as a ego fighting, and not able to uh, explain certain things through that emails. So finally they will pick up the phone and they discuss and come to the conclusion. So for that we have to, to avoid all that, we need to have a very clear communication through the emails. If any corporate, if you take that people minimum like 100 emails per day they are receiving it, but in that most of the time people send the forward email, some of the jokes or some of the news they share in that one. But project related communication happens very minimal through the emails. And if you are a virtual team, if you are a multicultural, and if you are a multi-located team, certain things when you are sharing through the emails, it creates the disturbance to the other end people. So very carefully we have to deal while writing the emails to this kind of team members. Most of the time people use that email, even some people don't use the subject while they are writing the email. So always the subject line to work. Even sometimes before open up the email itself, by looking the subject, some people emotions are getting different. So they may get emotion with by looking the subject line. So better have the clear way what is that this email carries uh, by saying very clear things in the subject line. For example, when you are saying monthly reports, so it not makes much difference to the people. You want to have some personal touch, then you can say monthly reports as per Ravi's request. So that gives the personal touch, and the person who is going to open that email, so maybe he gets into a very happy way to open that email and read it. So also, if you want to be very specific, which monthly report, so you have to say monthly reports between this month to this month, or you just put that September 2013 or whatever. Be specific about your communication, what you are putting in the subject line of the email. Then you have to visually highlight the key message. Some people, they write more than a page of content in the emails, and finally many people get confused. What is this person is trying to communicate? And they may not be able to follow what he is trying to say also. That is the reason either we have to use some bullets what we are trying to communicate, or we have to have some highlights the key points in that email. So people no need to waste their waste their time into reading full email. So they will get the, if some busy person opening that email, so they can quickly get to know that this email talking about these are the main points. If something interesting or if something is critical, immediately they will go through the entire email. So make use of the visually highlight the key messages. And the time, the delivery of the maximum impact. The time is very much important. Here I am talking about the weekends and weekdays, and even sometimes the critical things need to be communicated very quickly. For that, people will have the options in the email saying that high importance. They will put the red flag, everything for the follow-up. They will do it. But sometimes people may not be having the chance to open those emails. Is better though during those times avoiding any critical message need to be conveyed, better to avoid the written emails. So you can always use verbal or any other mode of communication to reach that person. The reason here as mentioned that weekend and weekdays, so it's all the project managers and leaders and the stakeholders are the human beings only, so they tend to miss or they tend to skip certain things during the weekend, or after the weekend, the day when they start, they have hurry to uh, prepare their to-do list. So during that time, so they miss certain things. So if anything need to be responded quickly, so during the business hours, it can be communicated. If it is any non-business hours, better to avoid the writing the emails. And the quick body language secrets, because most of the time the PMs and the project owners and the PLs, they have to interact with the stakeholders. They should not communicate certain things through their body language. Even though if they have some emotional things and sometimes unknowingly they communicate through their body language. So the body language, it plays very important role. Here I am not going into very detailed one. What are the quick things that can be practiced, that can be implemented to become a high performer and become an effective communicator? 3 body language secrets I am going to cover here. See, how you stand is how you feel, because when you are stand confidently within your both legs, so during that time your brain also well balanced, and both your left and right brains are works in a balanced way, so that you can very clearly communicate what you are thinking in your mind. And it also reflects that how much you are confident when you are delivering that. The second one is the lean into close the deal. Many times people, even in this table, when they are having the round table discussion, when they have the meeting, they show that they are not happy with that. Some people, they will just go back and their face expressions, all that, they just go back from their seat, and even some people, they will make noise in the tables, like they will disturb others, and it shows they're impatient. They are not happy with what the discussion is going on. So if you want to close the deal with the opponent person, or when you are negotiating something, when you want to influence or when you want to convey something to the other, so you have to lean close. There is a distance you have to keep up. It's not that some people take the advantage, and because of the cultural thing, that will backfire. If you look at in the Europe, German, if some people very close and if you pat them on their shoulder, so they will take it in a very different way. So we should know if where, and based on the personality who is involving, and we have to be very careful in our body language. So the 4 feet and 4.5 feet is a good distance you can keep while you are closing the deal. So not beyond that you can go close and talk to them. That gives a different perception. So please always have this kind of best practices when you are closing the deal. And third one is keep your eyes wide open. Many people, they don't communicate through their eyes also, because they look somewhere and they talk something, and the person who's supposed to get addressed, they may lost interest to listen you, and they may lost what you are trying to say. So the project managers and the project leaders should aware about the eye contacts and how they can communicate while they are having the meetings or discussion with their team members. As I mentioned here, it helps to listen better and more fully. Once again, your body will tell your minds what is going on. So when you stand straight with the confident, and you are not very close or you are not very far from the person, when your eyes are open, so it helps you to learn, listen, and you can lead them very well. The next thing is meeting, participation, and perception. Most of the time people say, I'm busy in meeting. What is the purpose of having the meeting? The people having the different perception about that. Also participating in the meeting, even though they are not going to add any value, even though they are not going to contribute to the discussion, to kill the time or to showcase some people they want to be busy, they participate in all kind of meetings. So that really kills their time, as well as sometimes they may miss uh, the critical things which they have to handle. So the meeting participation and perception need to be very clear. Here if you look at the meetings are uh, most of the time it's in a negative way. People are saying that meetings remain inconclusive. Most commonly perceived as meetings is waste time, and meetings do not result into actionable work items to perform and track. It gives you a different perception, the people who are really effectively using the meetings. The general perception is the negativity. Only the high performing organization and the effective communicating teams and the effective communicating project managers and leaders, they see that the meetings are more effective when it is managed properly. The first thing is the clarity of objectives of the meeting need to be communicated. It has to be very clearly defined, and the person who is hosting or the person who is facilitating or enabling must be clear about objectives of the meeting. And the second thing, choosing the participants. Who is going to attend it? Most of the time we have the DLs, or we say that this group have to come and attend it. But from that group, how many people are going to contribute? How many people really get involved in that? Many people, they come and they not even open their mouth, not even speak a word. So they just come and attend the meeting and go back. So what is the use of that one? So we need to very clearly list out the participants who is going to attend it. The third one is we have to prepare the agenda of the meeting. Without agenda, if you are getting into the meeting, and you may lose your time, and you may lose uh, the effort or productivity of the people who are getting involved in that meeting. The fourth one is keep discussion on topic and save everyone's valuable time. Sometimes people will come and take the meeting in a different direction. They come up with sharing their thoughts, and that leads to in a different agenda also. So we have to keep that discussion on topic, and if the facilitator or whoever is leading that meeting always have to be control in this one. Many meetings are getting into quarrel, and because it is criticizing the people. They don't criticize the ideas and thoughts, they just criticize the people. That is the reason the meeting is getting closer in inconclusive way, or it is getting into quarrel. So we have to manage it, and most of the time these project managers have to play that role. They have to balance it if there is any difference of opinions or any differences between these project stakeholders. And some of the differences, people may be very adamant, and they don't want to accept it. During that time, as a project manager, as a project leader, you have to accept it, and maybe outside the meeting, so you can able to influence that guy, or you can negotiate with him for the better closure, rather than keep arguing with that person and wasting everyone time. So as a project manager, or the leader of the meeting, so you can accept certain things, and you can deal that one outside the meetings. There's a essentiality is there, so I will cover a little bit later. And the seventh one is the recording the minutes of the meeting. Most of the time, this minutes of the meeting gets prepared and it is published, and many people not following it. The action items which are mentioned in the minutes of the meeting should have the ownership. Uh, Even though people has the name against that, they think that okay, let it the other action items get complete, and the very lethargic way few people handle that. So when the action items are very clearly defined and the names are against that, each project stakeholders names are there in that one, they have to be accountable and take the ownership of accomplishing those action items, so that the next meeting that can be discussed and that can be closed before looking other action items. Nowadays there are so many tools are available. So today, like we are using a webinar using the Citrix. So like this, there are so many tools are available. We have to see how effectively use these tools for our meetings, and how we can use both audio and video. Even many people prefer to have the video conference discussions, and rather than having other modes. Uh, we have to look at the cost side also. Not every organization or not every project's able to afford those kind of tools. So we have to see with the minimum expenses and maximum outcome where we can get that one. So we have to organize our meetings with a very decent tools. This essentiality, see, meetings is like pretty much a drawing board, and it is crucial for the successful project planning and the project delivery. So you should carefully plan for it, attend and organize it in productive manner for effective project management. See, anyone spending decent amount in the project management field, they will sometimes have project from time to time that experience significant difficulties. Most of the project managers complain that their times are going in the communication only. They are not able to do certain activities. Even if you say that the report also one way of communicating about the status of the project, preparing the dashboard. So the communication is taking more than 70% of the project manager's time. So that's why having effective meetings during that time, we can able to minimize lot other way of communicating, uh, non-verbal or reports, dashboards. So many things can be avoided when we have the effective managed meetings. That is the essentiality of having the effective managed meetings. How to overcome this ineffective projects because of ineffective communication? The first one is the project owner or manager or leader have to show the leadership, because many times this project team tends to look at the problems, and they try to blame each other, which person is missing something, and which person is not doing something. So for that, this project manager has to play the leadership role. They have to stop the blame game and clear the cloud within these stakeholders, and make sure things are going smooth. And the second one is avoid temptation to simply throw more resource. Most of the time, the people, they see when there is a problem in the project, they will add more number of resources to make it faster and produce more deliverables. When you are adding this one, you are one more communication channel also getting increased. There is a formula for calculating the communication channel n to n minus 1 by 2. So if you go through PM Book of Knowledge, so it clearly explains that what is that formula and how you can implement while you are planning your communication in the project life cycle. The third one is avoid sugarcoating. Most of the time people not sharing that unpleasant things which is happening in the project. So they just cover it up, and if somebody is not doing the right thing, and if they are doing some personal flavors to that project manager or the project leader, so they are taking in a personal side, and they just use the sugarcoating words to make that person happy, to keep that person in their teams, in their project. So as a project manager or leader, you have to avoid sugarcoating. That gives the very clear that what's supposed to be communicated to them, and they will also understand what is the reality happening in the project. And the fourth one is the review. Most of the time people they will review the document and they will leave the comment in that, and they will just pass it to the team. So not giving the comments and passing in the document is helping the project team. Always review with the people and get insights about the points what they have put it in that reports, and also have the frequency of reviewing the data and see how you can follow up, and you can really need to be linked this one, because people review it and they will give the comment one time, and that is registered in the document that they pass it to the team. But while following up, they may not have the inputs from that feedback. So you need to have the continuous follow-up, whether whatever the review you have done, through that you have given the feedback, implemented correctly, so that next time you don't face that problem in the project life cycle. So these are the 5 overall things, but there will be many things. In your experience you would have seen that, but these major 5 things are helping to overcome the ineffective projects because of the ineffective communication. We have to create the project team. Within the project team, there should be part of the culture. Most of the time they miss that they are not part of the team. How to build this be part of the culture? If the stakeholders have the different perception and expectations, then it will be a difficult to make the project successful. So have a frequent meetings and ask them questions and listen them patiently and understand what they are trying to communicate and what they are trying to convey and what they are trying to contribute to the project. So that helps more commitment from the project stakeholders. And the exchange. See, many times people listen everything very clearly, but at the end of the day they will say it's a one-way communication. They will dictate something and they will close the meetings, or they will close the deal. It's not like that. We have to respect for people, and when they are sharing some of the thoughts and ideas, so that need to be understand, and same time if something will help them to be more productive, the leader or the project manager have to share with them how they can do it in a better way. So that exchange need to be happen between the project manager and the team, also with the stakeholders. The third one is follow through. So most of the time, as I mentioned, in the minutes, people put the action items and they will allocate to some people. But that accountability and ownership, even though lies with the individual, the project manager have to follow whether this person have done something in that, and what is the percentage of accomplishments, and what is the challenge he is facing, how to overcome. So he has to, he or she, extend their help to the person who has allocated to that action item. So when we do these three of the things, so all the stakeholders feel that they are be part of the team and be part of the project. It's not that always the project manager have to have the success, and every individuals who are getting involved in this project, they should be feel that they are also getting success, and as being part of this project they are also learning, and also the customers who are provided the project, so they also should feel that okay, they are also winning the business uh, by doing the project. So how we can mastering this win-win approach? Every PM should understand the dynamics of interpersonal communication and barriers to successful communication and remedial actions and the practical strategies to communicate effectively in different cultures and work environments to reach win-win solutions. Basically, we have to do the self-SWOT analysis for our communication management, so that even for the project we have to do the SWOT analysis, how we can effectively communicate. So that really helps the people to perform in a higher end. Then the second one is PM should know practical strategies to negotiate effectively by focusing on interest instead of on positions and generating mutually beneficial options. We have the tendency that if somebody from the higher authority says something, people always say boss is right, so they will start accepting that. So, and on the back they may crib about that this is not the right way. So always we have to give room to people to give their feedback and listen them and see how it's going to help to the success of the project. And when we have any negotiation with the stakeholders, we need to understand the benefits, what the both end is going to receive by agreeing certain things and by not arguing in a different way. The third one, we have to see how to better working relationships to have within the project stakeholders. Nowadays, people even they skip the processes by building the good relationship with the people, and they are getting things done. That is not 100% right way to do that. And same time, this building relationships able help to understand within the team and help each others to accomplish the project objective as well as the business objective of the project. So people always want to implement the best practices, and by implementing the best practices, they feel that okay, we can able to replicate what others done that. Uh, in my experience, not all the best practices helped. Typically, if you copy that one from the source to while implementing in your end, you have to customize based on your organization, also based on your project requirement and based on your project where you are executing. To identify these approaches, process, tools, it has to be very clearly understand, and it has to very clearly say that what is the outcome we will get it from that one. So unless the person who understand the approaches and methodologies very clearly, uh, it's very difficult to implement in the project life cycle. And many people, they will implement in the org level, but same time they expect that the org level cultures need to be followed in the projects also. Sometimes some of the projects have the exceptional thing. We have to consider based on the case by case. So which practices or which methodologies can be useful for that specific projects. The building a project management team that has the skills and ability to apply company best practices to actual projects, not in theory but in reality. This is the second very important thing. Maybe the project stakeholders not aware about all the best practices what the organization is following. So many of the organizations through the quality people are nowadays through the process excellence or operational excellence or business excellence, they are giving the different titles and involving the right person be part of the project life cycle, and they are trying to implement the best practices which organization following uh, across the projects. The ongoing training, it really helps all the project holders to understand what are the best practices across the globe following related to their projects, and reinforcing training theories and concepts by applying them to real projects. Most of the time people talk in the philosophical manner. They may not be able to implement in the real time. If methodology or any tools and any principles which not followed or which not imbibed by the people in the real time, that is not going to help to make the project success. So it has to be practiced also in their day-to-day professional life. So then only by implementing best practices we can see more success rate in the projects. Now I am coming to this project life cycle. As I mentioned earlier, I wanted to cover this one later time, but in this slide we are going to cover each phases of the project, how the communication is very important, how effective communication is playing vital role in each phase of the project. While initiating the project, we need to have the voice of customer. Most of the time we get the voice of customer after delivering the project, after delivering the service. We say that we will try to get the feedback from the customer. But in the project life cycle, during the initiating, we need to have the voice of customer so that you can understand very clearly the requirements of the customer. Even you are studying about the requirements of the customer, you have to classify the needs and wants of the customer. You have to see how quickly you can meet the needs of the customer through your project, and how you can fulfill the wants of the customer through value-add services. The second thing, planning. During the planning, we have to clarify the purpose of the project to the stakeholders, and we have to respect for people's thoughts and views, because that gives them motivate to participate more in the project. Involvement of their involvement of the project members and the commitment of the project members will be more. During the planning, we have to have the number of channels we are going to use it for project communication need to be freezed, and proactiveness, that is very much important. Instead of we react during the crisis time, we should have a proactive way of how we will communicate during the any contingency happens. So those are the things are very much important during the planning phase. While executing, we need to be see how we can move towards the pursuit of perfection. And if we start delivering right at first time, so that communication have to go to all the project members. They should know that the importance of delivering right at quality at first time. So when they consistently do that, so the pursuit of perfection will build in their mind, and they will continuously improve it. So that communication keep on need to be go to all the project stakeholders during the executing stage. And while controlling, people should aware what we are doing it, how much we have completed. So further, the signaling systems like Kanban. Nowadays, the project management is adopting the different other best practices from the other methodologies. For example, Agile. In the Agile, we have the Lean and Kanban, Scrumban, like that. Different signaling systems are there. So if those signaling systems can be used in the controlling phase, so that helps to communicate certain things very clearly in a standard way. And while closing, always we need to have the lessons learned, and we need to build that documentation very clearly, so that helps to the next people, next set of the project team to start the projects in a very effective way. So the closing documents is very much important. While we are writing those lessons learned documents, what we want to communicate to the others should be very clear. Even the unpleasant things need to be captured there, and how would have been overcome that. So if any suggestions, ideas are there, that also have to be captured during the closing phase of the project. Apart from that, now if you look at the trend of the project management side, people always feeling that there should be connect between the corporate strategy and the project strategy. So strategy is playing vital role, and the project managers are not what the way how project managers are looked by the project stakeholders and the sponsors is they are the leaders of the projects. So the leadership qualities are getting more important, and the project managers have to equip themselves and build the leadership skills to make very successful, effective projects through their effective communication. Because the leadership skills, having other soft skills like presentation, and they need to communicate very clearly their vision, mission, goals to the all the associates and the stakeholders of the project. And the consistent change in the technology also pushes the project managers to be aware about the technology changes. Many way nowadays people can communicate through many different mediums also. So in the project life cycle, the project manager should have a very clear strategy how they are going to communicate, and what is the leadership skills they are going to follow, and what are the technology tools and techniques they are going to use it for the communication. And these are the three aspects are very much important for the project managers during their project life cycle. Apart from project life cycle, also for uh, their professional life and their social life, these three areas are getting more important. And across the globe, the paradigm shift is more than time and cost scope. Triple constraint is gone, so they are more focusing on this triple constraint nowadays. Strategy, leadership, technology is playing a very vital role, and for that the communication is the backbone for that. The way forward, uh, close the communications gap around business benefits. So people very clearly have to have the plan and immediately action on whatever they want to do it to bridge the gap. And second one, tailor the communications to different stakeholder groups. Uh, be prepared when you are communicating to the different stakeholder groups. Very specifically understand the requirements and look at the parameters and look at the culture where you are going to do that. So based on that, make your communications are tailor-made. And the third one, acknowledges the value of project management, including project management communications. And finally, use standardized project communication practices and use them effectively. It's most of the time people come up with new standard and everything. If they don't practice it and if they don't follow it effectively, the results will not be there. So with that, we have come to the end of the session. Now it's open for Q&A session. If people, whoever have any questions, we will address here. If people who are having more questions need any clarity, so you can directly connect to, you can write to me, visukumar@yahoo.com. You can reach me on my mobile, and people who want to have the connect with me, so you can reach me in LinkedIn. We have 12 more minutes. Okay, clarify what is C-suite. CXX people. Nowadays we have a chief people officer, chief strategy officer, CEO, COO, CFO. So when the project manager understand what the C-suite people expecting it, so it will be easy for him to meet the objectives of the project. Most of the time the project owners talk in the C-suite language, so that the project manager who is executing the project understand the business benefits of the project and he can put the goals and actions around that, and he can easily translate that one in the technical language to the people who are going to execute in the ground level. I hope I answered to your question. Okay, one more time, can you please elaborate C-suite? Okay. Most of the time, the projects which are getting executed, it's aligned with any one of the strategic planning. The people who are getting involved in the strategic planning is C-suite people. That is CXX people like CEO, COO, CFO, CSO, CPO, even nowadays CIOs, everybody, there are a lot of CXX people are getting involved in the strategic planning, and they come up with the different initiatives they want to drive in their organizations. Based on those strategic initiatives only, the projects are getting created by the business owners, and those business owners, they come up with the business objectives of the project, and the project owner is talk about what is that C-suite people are expecting by executing that project, so that he can communicate clearly to the project manager what is that expected from uh, the project team, and the project manager translates or interpret that one in a technical language and explain to the ground people who are executing the projects. Mr. Bibunath, hope I answered to your question. Thank you. Okay, sometimes the real strategy is not communicated to the project manager. In such situation, what is your advice to PM? Uh, that's where the project manager have to have the frequent meeting with the all project stakeholders. If the PM is, most of, as I mentioned, most of the places they have the very low level authority, and they may not be able to get those details. So they have to identify from the senior management who can get that inputs for him and make him or her to understand the objectives behind the project. The PMs who are executing the projects, they uh, have to conduct the minimum quarterly once or monthly once. It depends on the project time. If it is a 6 months project, then maybe they can involve the top management or the senior management in the project discussion monthly once, and there they will get the inputs from these people. But before, during the initiation time itself, they have to be very clear about the strategy, and if not, they have to put the pressure on the project owner, ask him to get the strategy behind this project. In many IT organizations, these project managers directly get the scope of the project and the requirements. They're not even getting involved in any of the strategy discussions or any of the business discussion. So they start delivering it based on the scope defined by the document or the project owner what is telling to him. And end of the project, while they are delivered, uh, many business end users, they don't accept what they are getting it. That's where the problem happens. So the PM has to either influence the project owner and get the strategy behind the project before they start the project. That's where the PM's effective communication skills need to become, and some of the times he or she may not be able to get it in a formal way. So in a informal way, when you connect, you will get the opportunity to understand. The one example I can suggest here, uh, the people nowadays, many organizations started having the PM community, the project management community. So in that, they will have the monthly knowledge sharing sessions or best practice sessions. So through that, they are able to get connect with their senior management or top management, and using those forums, they are trying to understand the objectives or business benefits of the projects, what they are executing it. So that is the one way of getting to know about the strategies behind the projects. Mr. Ravi Tandon, hope I answered to you. Thank you.
Dear participants, if you have any further questions, you can type in the question box so that Mr. Gopal can answer your queries.
Thank you, participants. Thanks for your time and thanks for listening me patiently. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gopal, for an exclusive session on project communication and fundamentals, and thank you all the participants. And for all the participants, the recorded presentation and the link will be uploaded in my CII shortly. And if you have got any queries on project communication fundamentals or any other aspects of project management, you can write to Mr. vishukumar@yahoo.com, or you can reach him at 99625 12524. And thank you, everyone.
The organizer has ended the session, and this call will be disconnected. Goodbye.